Hey, sisters, how are you feeling in your body today? Are you doing all of the things I talk about and still not feeling like yourself or feel like you maybe should feel better? This episode is going to be very interesting for you, so listen up. If you have been following the show for a while, you likely know that there are three phases of healing to thrive in perimenopause and beyond. The first being inflammation reduction, the second being healing and repair, and the third being hormone optimization. Now, hormone optimization is all about knowing and supporting your hormones and your natural feminine hormone rhythm. And a key piece of this is really understanding the hormone disruptors and toxicity of your products. Now, we've talked on this podcast about non-toxic cleaning products. We've talked about how to have a less toxic home. So make sure you check out those episodes if you haven't already. They're episode 52 and 111. But we haven't talked about a major area of toxic products that we all use at least a few times a week, if not daily, and that is hair care. So I had to find someone amazing who is an expert in this area to share with all of us. And I have her here today. So get excited. Please help me welcome Michelle Gassamy, who graduated from Northern Michigan University in 2005 for cosmetology and attended Finlandia University in 2009 for business and communications courses. Throughout her career, she has played a variety of roles: stylist, manager, mentor, master colorist, in both local boutique salons and spa businesses across 3 states and corporations, as well as a self-employed renter as a successful independent stylist. So she's got a lot of information for us. For 10 years behind the chair, although she's no longer behind the chair, making the transition to managing her own employee-based salons as CFO and CEO 8 years ago, Michelle remains a growth-centered strategist who strives to remain innovative in her approach to the industry and the needs of her team. She works to fill a need to improve, expand, and elevate the commission employee-based business model in her industry, providing career-minded stylists opportunities to grow for past the max of this model without the toxic salon culture. Meraki's culture, that unspoken but felt air, is equally, if not more important to her than the amazing hair walking out the door. And she creates and cultivates this support on the daily. She values a holistic, low toxic environment for her salon, striving to ensure sustainability for stylists and the best hair care for guests. So she's showing you how you can achieve luxury hair without the toxins. And she's going to talk all about that with us today. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, welcome. I'm super excited to be here and share some of this information, which can be very overwhelming to understand and to know and to learn about.
Yeah, I agree. It's like there's so many things for us to always be thinking about. And it wasn't that long ago where nobody even cared or paid attention to toxic things. So it's like a new awareness for us, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, but absolutely critical for women in particular.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited to get into that. But before we do, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Like, how did you come to care about non-toxic hair products and salon environments at all?
So it occurred when my body gave me a wake-up call behind the chair. I was about 8 years behind the chair at that point. I've been in the industry now for about 18 or 19 years.
Wow.
But my body actually started like oozing. So I had oozing eczema. So my skin was literally oozing out of my body. Like my body was inflamed. I was
Oh my
just,
gosh.
my arms swelled up to those of like a 300-pound person. I could see a heartbeat. They were hot to the touch and they were oozing. So it was clear that my body was detoxifying, whether I liked it or not.
Yeah.
So that was the catalyst for me to do just a deep dive into what is happening to my body, why is my body doing this, and then it just created a full-on deep dive research for, in the salon industry. So I started there because that's my profession at the time.
Yeah.
So I deep dove there, looked at safety data sheets and all those things that are hard for the layman to understand, but I knew right away where to look. So I immediately was like, I got to reduce my chemical load. My body is inflamed, obviously. Incredible pain, incredible, like my body was just rejecting everything. So I went down to, kind of brass tacks and down in my diet, my skincare, like what I was putting inside my body as well as on my body.
Yeah.
I went through all of that. So nutrition, pH balance, supplements, movement, fitness, like all of that stuff from the inside out. And then for me, the hair care was somewhat easy, but the last thing for me was my makeup, because I love makeup. So and at that time, there wasn't a lot of really great professional grade stuff for
Mhm.
makeup and for hair color. So just learning to know what to look for, what to ask for. And then I basically use my body as, a test tube to see, okay, if I'm eating this or I'm doing this, is this helping reduce that inflammation, clear it up, or is it worse? So I went down to almost like a baby food type diet, and then everything else in my skincare, and just kind of then would gradually add some things back until I knew what I could tolerate. And then it gave my body an opportunity to exhume the inflammation and the toxins. I went and got testing and all that kind of stuff, and my blood was very it had a lot of toxins in it, a lot of chemicals. So my chemical load was over the chart. Yeah. And I was able to identify, obviously I had done a career at that point where I'm dealing with highly ammoniated colors. I'm not wearing gloves, which is very common. Dealing with caustic, like relaxers and perms were big then, and like all those different things. So I'm breathing that in. It's on my skin. It's now on my body. And then of course, the classic industry adage of, you don't really eat very well, you are just drinking coffee or beverages, you're not getting any kind of fitness or movement, right?
Yeah. Just on your feet all day.
Yeah. So just really, that was the catalyst where I was like, okay, my body's telling me something and I have to figure it out.
Ah, that's fascinating. I love what you said there, how you kind of took it right back down to the basics and then, almost did your own testing. And I think it's important to highlight that because when we hit sort of these more middle ages, I don't know how old you are, but I know where I'm at in the middle ages. Our body really does become less it's kind of headed up to here, right? With what things are going. And sometimes we get really stuck expecting really quick results, but it's this kind of scaling back to the basics so that we can really rebuild and actually see what's causing the issue or what is causing what isn't causing. That makes a big difference. And it doesn't happen overnight, does it?
Yeah. No, this took me probably a good year.
Okay.
Certainly a good several months for my skin to actually calm down.
Wow.
And like I just really, and then a full year. And then there's even times now, like that happened probably, I want to say 8-10 years ago, and I'm 42. So it was just that longevity inside my career and just like all the bad process type stuff I was doing. And then I got better, but it still wasn't enough for my career. So I had to step away from the chair. And now to this day, I have sensitivities even to things that are good for us.
Yeah.
So like lavender, I can't do lavender. I have to do Roman chamomile instead. And certain kinds of citrus and pineapple I still have some sensitivities to me. So you really do need to figure out what works for you individually. And I like being able to provide that kind of knowledge and those kind of options to those in the industry and to our clients as well. So that's important to me because I want to be able to offer those choices and that education. Because no one told me any of that. No one said put gloves on or not be aware of this or that, and that cut my career short, physically hands-on. But I wanted to still remain in the industry, just in a different role and a different impact. So I was able to kind of funnel that research and that experience, which is really the bedrock of Meraki salons. It's really unique to my experience behind the chair. My health reasons for stepping away, the reason why I even created organic salons, all of those different things are really a function of this whole journey of non-toxicity and reducing your chemical loads. For sure.
I love that. I love what you do. I love that you took your pain and kind of turned it into something really productive to help other people as well. And it's amazing for you. It presented, this toxic load really presented in like your skin and the eczema and everything, but it can present so differently in different people, can't it? Have you seen that with other stylists or with people you've worked with over the years?
Yes, absolutely. It shows up in asthma, respiratory issues, certainly any kind of skin issues, rashes, different things like that can exhibit in different volumes than others. And then since I've been in the industry for a while and, I went to school with different people, I've heard over the years, a lot of people have suffered miscarriages, have trouble conceiving, because a lot of these things are hormone disruptors and endocrine disruptors for women. And some have developed severe respiratory issues, cancers, because a lot of those things we're inhaling as well, aerosols and different things. So I have seen that certainly through my career and with my colleagues throughout the years. And then also young stylists. So now it's a passion of mine to go into the schools and kind of let people know there are options. You can still get amazing hair care and amazing results with less of a toxic load and for safer alternatives that I didn't know back in the day. And I really want to make sure that you can have longevity in this career if you choose to, if you just really, are mindful of what you're doing.
I love this, Michelle, because I think, like anything, like you're addressing it at the head, like with the people who sort of promote the products, right? Like, for the average woman who doesn't work in a salon, obviously we still are impacted by these products all the time, not as much, but often. I mean, every day, like I wash my hair a good 3 times a week. So there's put product on it and color it and things like that. So we run into these things, but when you're dealing with it by setting the example at the top like that, I think it makes a big impact. So I love that. Let's talk a little bit about why this matters. Like, I think we know, obviously hearing your story, that makes it pretty evident for you sharing some of the other experiences, but like, for those of us who don't work in salons, like why should we care as women about the ingredients in our hair care, in our color, in our products?
Well, for one, they affect you in your respiratory, in your hormones, and also in your reproductive measures. So it will affect, so anything that you put on your body and in your body, we know that affects you, right? What you eat makes you feel a certain way, etc. It's the same concept of anything that's going on your skin. It's getting absorbed into your skin, into your bloodstream, and it's affecting the balances of your blood and all the different things. And when you're dealing with things that you use every day, and if you're not mindful of reducing those chemical loads, well, then that's going to build up, right? It's just common sense. But what you can do is you can, especially with color, because that's a chemical, there are no such things as organic color on the market because you have to create a chemical reaction in order to create the look. But there are safer alternatives, right? Because for some, if you're doing like gray coverage or things like that, that sit on your scalp, that's sitting on your skin and it's now absorbed into your bloodstream, right? Do you know what is in that, right? So it's just about getting educated enough to make better and safer alternatives for you. And I also believe in balance, right? I provide these options for my team and for my clients, but there are things in my salons that I myself can't use, or I'll break out in hives, or it will really affect me in a different way. But I don't want to be dogmatic with that. I simply want to offer safer alternatives for the most part, and then educate on that. And you're not going to lose any of the luxury or any of the results. It's not like you have to go do, like henna or, crunchy granola or hippie, all that kind of stuff is kind of is not relevant anymore. You can have all that great luxury without, and it's reasonably priced too. And the brands that I work with, I always make sure that they're sustainable in their packaging, for one. And that they're also, a lot of them are glass bottles. So we offer refillable programs and things of that nature, which help offset the cost of organic. And if you're buying it professional, you will automatically use less.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because it's a higher potency, it's less watered down. So the brands that I use, Owe, which is short for organic whey, out of Italy. So they're in brown bottles. We offer refillable options, and a lot of their stuff is biodynamic, botanical, things of that nature. And they're a really nice treatment-based line, but their shampoos and conditioners are very reasonable, $30, $40. And you use less of it because in order to bring it to mass market, you have to make it affordable to do so as a manufacturer, right? So you're watering it down, you're using cheaper ingredients that are readily available, right? Fragrances, etc., as opposed to something that is only sold professionally. So that is maintaining the integrity of the formula and the ingredients, so you can make sure that what you're getting is what it says in the bottle, and that it's only available through professional means, because that's a way that I like to support our industry as well.
Yeah. That's so, actually, I have some questions around that. That's really interesting. So how do we know, is it like, if we're buying an organic product that's professional grade, like how do we know that what we're getting is a lower toxic or a better or non-toxic product, and that it's not just marketing?
Right. So you need to do your research, right? There's a lot of greenwashing, right? Even in the professional industry.
Greenwashing,
right?
Such a good term.
Yeah. So you do need to, don't take my word for it. Look at it. Look at the ingredients. For me, if it is readily available on the shelf of something like even Sephora, even Ulta, stuff like that, I already know that the ingredients are compromised.
Really?
As a professional, yes.
Okay.
And that's the risk that you take. Certainly anything on Amazon or something that doesn't come directly from that manufacturer or a trusted vendor.
Right, like Target, Walmart, places like that. Yeah.
We've actually done tests in our industry and in our salon comparing what we have here and what is bought at like Amazon or whatever. And it is a difference. There is added junk in there. There's no guarantee. There's added water. You can see the viscosity is different. The way it reacts to the hair is different. So I would just really steer away from that.
Yeah.
So you really have to understand where you're getting it, the source, right?
Yeah.
Where is this product made, right? Okay, the Owe is made in Italy. All right, you can go right to their website and buy it from them. So you can go right to the source, or we have a distributor in the US, in Florida. It's called Simply Organic Beauty. You can go in, and they're kind of an umbrella that offers safer alternatives, organic, non-toxic. But you do need to be reading those labels, because in the US, you can be labeled organic, I believe, if you have like 70% or more organic in your hair.
Doesn't have to be 100%. And that goes for food as well, for anyone listening. That's a food and a product line for sure. So we might
do your research. Yeah. Read the ingredients, see what you want. Then a lot of times they'll put stuff in under like fragrance, or a lot of those unpronounceable things. You should be able to quickly do a Google search to see what that ingredient is, because every manufacturer has public knowledge safety data sheets online.
Interesting.
So you can actually, I wouldn't go through an app or anything like that. I don't really trust those. I would literally look at the ingredient that I'm interested in knowing what exactly this is and Google that ingredient. And then you will get, okay, is this a derivative of coconut or something of that nature that is derived from something more natural? And then you're like, okay, that's great.
Okay.
But I don't trust really anything that has like a fragrance or perfume or like any of those sorts of things, because they can put anything in there.
Like when that's the kind of like natural flavors in food. It's just an overarching term that they get to stick stuff in that we don't actually know the reality of.
It's the same in hair care. Yeah.
Oh, that's so okay. So I just want to recap. So I understand, obviously we understand that like the impact of these endocrine disruptors when we're thinking like, okay, when I eat something, it reacts to my body, but now we're putting it on our skin, which is our most porous organ, by the way. So it's like sucking it in, we're breathing it in, and we know it impacts our reproductive. We know it impacts all of our endocrine disruptors, which for anyone listening to this podcast who is in perimenopause is a big deal, because we're already very sensitive during this time. So we know it matters. We know it's a big deal. We want to start looking for products that for our hair that, that are non-toxic or organic, but you're saying we want to go to the source and look up the ingredients, or, is that what you're saying?
Yes, not only like the source of where it's sold. So look on the bottle to see like where is it manufactured. So then you can go right to the manufacturer because that is where the safety data sheets are.
I
So
see.
they're called SDS or MDS. So you really got to figure out what the manufacturer has in here. And all that stuff is common knowledge, including your color and all those sorts of things. So they bet on you not understanding, not having a desire, and doing the work to research it. But I would stay away from apps telling you what is. Literally look at the ingredients, see, okay, I'm not familiar with what this is, and then Google that particular ingredient and see if that's something that works for you, is from a safe source, etc.
Yeah.
And then your actual product, make sure you're buying it from a trusted manufacturer's source.
Okay.
So,
Which would be what?
which would be where is this made? Do they have a website? So like oa.com has a website. And
Right.
then do they have a local distributor? Is there a local salon? Where does this salon get it? Where does this person get it? If you're really interested in the source and protecting what the manufacturer says is in the bottle, if it's good, you got to get it to as close to the trusted source.
Okay.
So Amazon is
Because
not a
we now
trusted
know
source.
distributors change them.
Yes, because they can sell their bulk, or people, can sell it through, normal means and good means, but then they themselves can water it down and resell it through other means. And that's what we've been finding. We've done those tests in salon and in our industry. And those are available online too, where we've compared things on Amazon, Ulta, Sephora, like all those different places that have the name brand type stuff. And then from where it's really at. But really, even things like, in the industry like Davinas or Aveda, once you deep dive into the actual ingredients, they're just as toxic as Redken, L'Oreal, like all the different things, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said that. I mean, I talk about nutrition this way. I'm like, Google your ingredients. If you don't understand ingredient, make sure you Google it and decide whether you want that to go in your body. This is what's so funny about us, right? Like we don't know what we don't know. And
Correct.
so
Yeah.
it's so important
And
to have these
yeah,
conversations.
because they bet on you not knowing that. Because like I said, I did those deep dives and I started first because I know how to read those safety data sheets. I know what those ingredients are because I was trained as a colorist to understand that chemical and what that chemical reaction is doing. And when someone says X, Y, and Z, I can give that information as a professional. But to the layman, they don't. They don't know that, even though it's public knowledge. You can search it.
Yeah.
So just some ways to really understand. Don't take someone's word for it. Don't take their marketing for it. No, I did deep dive. I didn't, I looked at Davinas, I looked at Aveda, I compared all of them. And I really looked at what is in my bottle. I don't care what anyone else says. I need to know what's going in my body.
Yeah.
And that was really important for me. Like I was in pain, so I wasn't going to take some person's word for it. Right. So I did the research and that worked for me.
That's a very empowering thing that you just said. And I think my wish is that everyone starts to move towards that. Like I care about my body and I want to know what's going in it. And I think that that's a really, I wish that we didn't need to get to the point of pain and discomfort in order to start to make those decisions. And I don't think it's our fault. I think it's our culture. I think it's, how we've been taught, especially as women. But I hope, look, you've already shared so many powerful things and we have more to talk about, but I hope if you guys leave with nothing else today, really step into this piece of like, I care about my body and what goes in it because it matters. And this is this midlife phase. You and I are the same age, Michelle. This is when it really starts to matter. I think for you and I both, it hit us a bit earlier because of the environments that we were in. But you don't want to wait till it's, I think we can both speak from experience. You don't want to wait until you feel like hell before you start to make these changes because it's hard. It's harder.
Yeah, and it definitely, not only did it show up in my skin, but I actually had ovarian cysts the size of oranges that were taken out. So like it affects you in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
And when you do those deep dives, you're like, oh, I used to get horrible migraines systematically every time I had like my cycle. I don't have those anymore. I thought, oh, it's my cycle, it's fine. No. turns out, it affects your hormones when your body's already going through the hormones. And then when you're feeding it with more and more disruptors, inflammation, I don't even have that anymore. I used to have debilitating fatigue when I came to my menstrual cycle. Nope, not anymore. Like, it's just, it's a self-awareness too, and that has to come from not only that desire, but also, trying to see trusted experts and different people who can like build those bridges for you and like give you some steps and tricks, can give you some things to ask, to know, to learn, so that you don't have to start from zero anymore. There's a lot of information out there, and this is one of them. So
there is. I love that you said that, it's like there's this issue of having, of your body reacting, so that it then has major issues like cysts and things like that. And what we do know is when we aren't working inside of our rhythm, when our rhythm is disrupted by these hormone disruptors, that puts us at a much higher risk for things like cancer, things like Alzheimer's, other mental illness, anxiety, depression, all of these things. So caring really matters, doesn't it? Really does.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's quality of life too. I have big dreams. I've got several locations I want to be doing. I want to be offering these things to people. I want to live a fruitful, healthy, productive, active lifestyle well into my 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I don't want to have, aches and pains and like different
brain,
things.
like nobody has even time for brain fog, let alone, you're right, like having debilitating periods or major things.
Yeah, I don't have time for that. Yeah. I got things to do, and
goal, dreams to achieve. And
yes,
I love that. I love that. And I think that's so relevant. I know a lot of the women listening to the podcast are high achievers. They've got big dreams, and those big dreams, whether it's you just want to be more present and rich in your life, or whether you have like other external dreams to accomplish things, there's still big dreams, and we don't want to be held back by these things. So okay, I love that you shared with us specifically about how to begin to, look at ingredients and go to the source for our products. What about things like, what questions can we ask our stylists around the products or the hair color in the salon, to help us make better choices?
Excellent. So that's one of the key areas, that chemical, those lighteners, those things that are going on your scalp and that you could potentially be breathing in, those sorts of things. So you want to be asking your stylist or the salon, do you have ammonia-free options? What are they? Do you perform straightening treatments in your salon? So there is no straightening treatment on the market that does not release formaldehyde.
Really?
Yes. And I've looked at those. There are smoothing treatments. We carry a smoothing organic treatment, but there's no straightening treatments on the professional market that do not release formaldehyde. So if you're interested in the air that you're breathing and different things of that nature, you may not be getting that service performed, but if it is in the salon that you're attending, it's in the air. So you're breathing it by default. So you want to be asking what kind of services they're providing. Are you doing straightening treatments, which means there's formaldehyde in the air? You also want to be asking for the color. Does it have PPD in it?
Okay.
Also, there are different levels of PPD in different shades.
What is PPD? Is there a longer name for it, or is that just?
There is. That talks about basically the size of the chemical, the molecule of color.
Okay.
And those are how it gets into your hair follicle, gets on your scalp, those sorts of things. And those also cause some irritation. So PPD is one of the biggest things that causes irritation. So the itchy scalp, watery eyes, like things like that. So that's an irritant in color.
Okay.
Just like ammonia is in lighteners.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so all those things are just little catalysts for that. So like, do you have a PPD-free option for color, for permanent color, as well as semi-permanent or glazes?
Okay.
So there are all of these safer alternatives on the market. You just want to be asking what brands do you use? So like Redken, it's toxic. yeah, so your shades, EQ, any kind of something like that, that has all ammoniated, all PPDs, resorcinol. So resorcinol is also an endocrine disruptor, and that's in color as well.
Wow.
So you want to be knowing where those things live. So for our core color, which is made out of Australia, it's got like macadamia oil in it. So you want to know, like, how is your color carried to your hair molecule?
Yeah.
Is it by a chemical means, or can it be by an oil based distribution, right? So that comes from the knowledge of the stylist.
Okay.
And the stylist may not have that knowledge, but you asking will elicit that.
Right. Oh, that's
So
good.
you want to be
Learning experience.
yeah, resorcinol, PPD, what are your ammonia-free options? And then what kind of, just simply the brands.
Okay.
So the lowest toxicity of color, professional color on the market right now is Core Color, COR color. And that is distributed by O&M through Australia.
Okay.
They also have hair care that goes with it. Oway also has a organic color as well.
Okay.
So that brand as well, that's an oil-based color, so it operates a little bit different than Core. So your colorist will be able to determine that based on what you're looking for. But they should have knowledge of that, because if they're a colorist, they should have knowledge of chemicals and chemical makeup, different things.
You know how obviously in food, there's like this, they kind of compiled this list that we can, go to really quickly, where it's like the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. Do they have that with like hair care or with toxic products that way? Not yet, huh? Okay.
No.
Okay. So these are great questions for everyone to write down and be able to ask and come back to this episode or message Michelle.
If I can give you a list, and you can even be like, okay, they said this, or how's this ingredient? And like, out of the safety data sheets, you want to be knowing what is an irritant.
Yeah.
And all of this should be common knowledge, and safety data sheets should legally be in a binder in every salon in the US.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can request to see your safety data sheets of the products that you're using. You can suggest your stylist to be looking at those as well, so that you can educate yourself together, because it'll tell you, oh, when you're mixing this color, you need to have all this personal protective equipment. This is going to cause X, Y, and Z. It literally says this could cause cancer. This could cause hormone disruptors. And then understanding what those are. So even if you don't understand the ingredients, everyone knows, oh, well, this could not be great for me. And they spell it, right?
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. This is amazing. I think we can create some of these questions or highlight some of these in the show notes so that everyone can have a quick reference there of what to ask and what to look for. But can you, I know it can feel really overwhelming for people. You talked a little bit about how to save money. Because I think it's a common feeling for people when they think organic or professional grade, they think it's going to cost more. I know you said already that we know if we're getting a real product from the real source, a professional grade or stylist grade, that we can actually use less of it because it's more concentrated.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that, on how to make it more affordable? Like, how often should we be washing our hair?
It really depends on your hair texture, the thickness of your hair, your activity level, your scalp level, where you live, so your moisture levels in the air. Typically, if you have very fine hair, it's common to wash every day. For some who have thicker, maybe curly hair, every other or a couple times a week. Okay. So it depends on what's on your head.
Right.
And then if you have color treated hair or lightened hair, then there's this, different steps that you need to take for that, to make sure that you're protecting your chemically treated hair.
Right.
But again, you can use less of a professional product. And then also the products like the styling products that you're using, if those are more organic and water soluble, then you don't necessarily have to wash those off every time you're in the shower. You can just rinse them off.
Oh, interesting.
That also protects you as well. Because obviously if you're using like these heavy waxes and these creams and these different things when you're styling, well, yeah, you have to wash them off, but if you're using better styling products, then your shampoo and conditioning will be more gentle for your hair as well. as well as using a better shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah.
Then also for your color, what we do is in our space, we actually chat with the client on kind of their lifestyle and their maintenance plan. So you want to be talking to your stylist or your salon on, hey, what's my maintenance plan? Hey, I want to be right here. So we do a full on here, and then in between you should be doing less and less, like maybe it's a face frame or just a glaze. And then typically now you should only really be doing 2 or 3 visits in a salon for your maximum looks, and then your maintenance appointments in between. So that helps reduce your chemical load. And also you should be talking about budgets with your stylist. We always talk very frank about that. What is your beauty budget? What's a must that you have to leave with today? That's a real conversation. It's a business, right?
Yeah.
It's a transaction. You should both be able to have that conversation. So you want to be getting with a stylist that's going to give you a look that you want, as well as a budget that you want, and then set out a plan for you, right?
Michelle, I love that. I love that you even brought that up, because I think there have definitely several times in my life where I have walked out of a salon with major sticker shock, because that conversation was not, it's like when you take your pet to the vet, you take your pet to the vet and they like do all these things and they never tell you how much it is. And then you walk out and you're like dying because of the cost. So that's, I love that. I think you just gave people permission to make sure to have that conversation.
Yes. And stylists should be having that conversation. That you should, so for any, client walking in, okay, I want a color, what does that process look like? They should be asking that. Am I going to do a consultation first? Can we have a conversation about maintenance, about the plan, the beauty budget, the whole thing? So you should be having a conversation before someone just does something to your head, right? You should be a part of that conversation. And you should be asking for that. So just as you're asking for what kind of brands, what kind of ingredients, also what's your kind of protocol when you have a new client who wants a color, like what are your steps of service type thing. And then you want to get with a stylist who's comfortable having those conversations, which is a conversation. It's a dialogue, right? It's not just like, okay, I'm going to give you this, and then there's no questions, right? You should be an active participant in that conversation. And I mean, this day and age, especially if you're going into an organic salon, we're a higher priced space. Those colors per tube are the highest priced in the industry.
Oh, wow. Organic color.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not cheap, right? You don't go into a store thinking you're going to pay less for an organic product than one that's not, right? So it's the same concept, but we help you create the most value for you. So, what's your maintenance plan? What's your beauty budget? There should be a lot of varieties that your salon can offer you to fit in with that. And then there should be some transparency in pricing as far as like a beginning rate that should be on their website or someplace that's public knowledge. So you have an idea of a starting point. And then you should also, in a space like that says that they're luxury and there are some organic options, they should have other things that go outside the service. Do they have online booking? Do they have ease of check-in, check-out? Do they have beverages? Do they have snacks? Do they have aromatherapy? Do they have a hot towel experience? Things like that, that create a total experience, almost like a VIP experience for the guest.
To make it more valuable, more value driven.
Correct.
Wow. Because I feel like I learned so much more. I wasn't even expecting to learn, but I think what you've taught us today is really how to advocate, like one, the value in understanding why it matters, what we know is in our product, how to actually advocate for those things, both in a salon and just like looking up our products. If you imagine, like the average woman listening right now, and I think of myself very much as that average woman, I've got a slew of products already in my shower. Can you share some tips, or what would be like the babies, if I wasn't in a position to go out and just like do the research and buy a whole bunch of new organic products, what would be the first products you would recommend? Would it be shampoo and conditioner?
For me, it would be whatever product you're using most.
Okay.
So your most frequent product, start there. So if you don't shampoo every day, maybe don't start there, but maybe you curl your hair, flat iron, or use a hairspray every day or a heat protectant every day, then I'd start with your daily.
Okay.
So just start there. I would also start with whatever is aerosol in your regimen.
Ooh, why?
So, because you're automatically injecting more of that in your system because you're now smelling it, and you'll notice if you're smelling it, you can also taste it because it's going down,
Yeah.
right? And it's on your skin.
Yeah. So it's going
And
in.
here. Yeah. So there's more distribution of that.
Right.
And those are finer particles. Those are, finer particles get in all the other ways quicker, right?
Yeah. Are there
So that's,
organic dry shampoos? Whatever makes me
yes.
think of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. But also good to know is there is some adjustment for people who are like aerosol junkies, because most organic don't have that. So OA has a spritz, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a wet hairspray, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
there's some of that. And then their dry shampoo is in a bottle that you shake.
Oh, wow. Okay. That makes sense. That makes some sense.
Yeah, so some different distributions, but if you really like a spray one, well, then O&M is a little bit better than the regular. So again, reducing it,
Yeah.
right? You got to pick and choose what works for you. Like if you really like that spray, like O&M, which is a safer alternative, OA is better, but at least O&M is better than the traditional brands that are out there. If you really are married to like that distribution method, then
Yeah.
at least choose a safer alternative. So I'd start with your distribution method and then the one that you use most frequently, and then
Okay.
just go down from there.
Oh, that's amazing. And I know, I mean, look, I know from knowing women, we're not all going to do a whole pile of research, but I do feel comfortable saying you do have a line of products that you use, that you
Yes.
recommend, that we
Yeah.
can check out if people, if you're not going to do the research, which we all recommend you do, of course, but if you're in a pinch and you need to start that way, I think, Michelle has a line that she recommends and uses. How do we find those products?
So you go to my salon's website. So it's Meraki Salon NC, like North Carolina, .com. And we have a shop page. And then so you're going to be looking for O&M. So original and mineral is the long version of that. And also OWAY, short for organic whey. And then you just tap right on that picture and it takes you right to the website.
Okay.
And then
Amazing.
there you can go and you can order through that. And then I believe you get a discount code for shipping and all that kind of stuff. And then if you have any questions with that, because they do sell other brands and they do skincare and things of that nature too. So if you ever have any questions with that, feel free to DM me directly, michelle.gossamy on Instagram, to kind of navigate what that looks like. But that is the professional level that you would want to start at. And then if you need any, answers for any questions or anything, obviously, I can be of assistance for that as well. Because
You're gonna get
it's
a
very
lot of questions.
overwhelming. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you. That's a huge gift that she just gave to us, you guys, around sharing, like reach out to her, but go follow her on Instagram. This has been, one, it's been empowering, it's been educating. And I'm so grateful for all your expertise here today, Michelle. I think like these conversations are important because, again, like we say, we don't know what we don't know. So I hope that that everyone takes this seriously, recognizes the impact and how these seemingly small decisions, which have packed quite a big impact on our overall health. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, this was so much fun, and I love paying this information and this research that I've done forward, because I know that it can be difficult to comprehend and also very overwhelming, especially when you feel bad now and you want to make improvements right away. So
yeah, and we know it takes some time.
mm-hmm.
I will put all of these things in the show notes, so make sure to swipe up and grab them. Follow Michelle, check out the website, ask her the questions. And if you do nothing else today, sisters, take one form of action, whether it's you Google something, whether it's you really, take a little minute to think about the products that you have, whether you decide to feel really empowered and in everything that you're putting in and on your body. But let's go out and be more in our lives and not just less on a scale. Thank you so much. Thanks, Michelle, for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, sisters, we'll catch you next time.